welcome all. We are the Appropriate Technologies people, and to start, I've written us an Appropriate Technology inspired song to start our presentation.
Hopefully that fired you up a little bit about what appropriate technology is all about. So, I wanted to first start at the beginning of the slide. Yeah, we can turn it very tough. But first I want to ask, who here, when they were in the Peace Corps in the Dominican Republic, was placed in the middle of nowhere? Who had no access to any services, water, bathrooms, electricity, etc., etc., etc.? Who had problems with these things? And that's why we're here, us appropriate technologies people, that's why we're here. And also, we are sharing that experience currently. A lot of volunteers now that come in are doing a lot of educational components, a lot of teaching with youth and adults, and they live in cities and have a lot of access to things that we might have access in the States. But most of us AT volunteers are out in the middle of nowhere, doing grassroots stuff, living in shacks and living in places that don't have water and don't have bathrooms, because that's what our projects are. We're helping people build the bathrooms and build the water systems that don't exist. So go ahead. I put a few summary of what exactly we are, but I'm just going to be talking about the water part. We do a lot of different projects, from helping people do manufacturing, to helping people build bathrooms, to help people do water, to help people do ovens, stoves, what be it, anything that might be technical. We are trying to be the expertise that helps other volunteers, assist them do these kind of projects in their city, in their sites. I'm water and sanitation, and so what I'm going to be talking about is kind of the impact that water can have on a site, how it can help to increase access to health, especially for children. That's kind of where what drives us. Why do we want to increase the situation of water? Why do we want to bring water to their homes to help with the health situation? We also have a huge component of education and capacitation to help people learn and take over these projects during the 2 years. That way, when we're gone, they can continue to have these water systems or bathrooms or what be it, and that they don't fail in the future. And if they do fail, that they can fix them. And then basically just how we can maintain the sustainability of all this. So go ahead. First, I wanted to kind of just talk a little bit about my personal experience. I live in Las Pajeras de Neiva, and it's in the south near Lago Enriquillo. It's the poorest province, it's the second poorest province of the country, next to San Juan. But basically, we're near the Haitian border, we're in the driest area of the country, and so it's just a little bit more difficult on the people that live there. This is my home. That's the kitchen that my family cooks in. I live with my host family still. Their part of the house is the right side, my part of the house is the left side. It's a nice little home. The cocina here on the right is falling apart, but she still cooks amazing food in there. Go ahead. This is my site. The south is the driest region in the country, but I'm in the mountains above the lake, and so I actually have rain for a large portion of the year, which you can tell about the greenery. We're a coffee producing area. We have a lot of fruit trees. We do a lot of bean growing. The people are dependent on agriculture. That's how they earn money. So go ahead. This is the impact. How can we make an impact on their life? We can help increase the convenience of their lives and help increase the health of their lives. Right now, people all over the country, not just in my site, this is the example I have, this is where I live. People are bringing water, have to look for water hour away using mules or burros, in this case, in giant jugs of water. And they do this once a day. Each person probably has access to 4 or 5 gallons of water each day, which as Americans, we know that's not very much water to have in your household. So we have other examples. This is my host mother. This is how she cooks. Every morning we get a nice pot of boiling guineo going. So boiling bananas. And this is other examples. This is from Gabe's site. Who's back with that? And people go look for water using jugs, just walk down there a couple times a day and carry their water back to their homes. And these are the things that we're trying to impact. This is what we're trying to change. We're trying to make water available for them in the home to help them have more time to do other things, maybe to devote to their agriculture so that they can produce more crops, or more time for their children to study in schools, or more time for the women to look for other opportunities to make some money, in addition to increasing the health. So go ahead. So like I said, we're trying to increase the health by reducing pathogens in water, providing education on how to increase hygiene. This all comes with when we implement our water projects. We're not only bringing them water, we're trying to teach them how important it is. Now that you have water in your home, wash your hands after every time you work, or you wash, or you cook, whatever. Also, we're promoting community health initiatives by trying to train some health nurses. This is kind of a secondary activity to our water projects, but really it's essential. A lot of these rural areas, they don't have any access to health systems, and so trying to train some people in the communities to go around and help with health initiatives. And then, like I said, the hand washing. So go ahead. And then education. Basically, Peace Corps is all about education, and that's because we're trying to maintain sustainability. So we do a lot of health and hygiene education, working with community leaders, working with the water committee. We'll talk about the water committee a little bit later. This is really the
the foundation for our project. Without a water committee, without leaders in the community kind of taking on the project, we don't go anywhere. So we're also training people to be technicians. Some of our projects are more technical than others, but either way there's a technical aspect because there's tubes that can break, there's valves that can break. We're working with lots of different tools that these people and I are familiar with, so we're trying to teach them to use these. So, go ahead. And sustainability, finally. Working with all these people and educating them, we can move into the sustainability aspect where by the time my 2 years are up, I'm useless and they can do everything on their own without me needing to do anything. And so we'll do exercises to help them learn how to repair all the different things. We're involving the community in the construction process. They're going to be the ones putting all of the hard work in to construct the thing. That way they're invested. Because if we do it all for them and then afterwards we give it to them, they're going to be like, oh, whatever, we'll let some other group come in and fix it for us. But when they build it themselves, they're going to be invested. Like, I care about this because I dug that pipe and it took me a month to dig this pipe in there. And also using sustainable construction practices that are low cost and fairly easy to do. And working on training and working with the water, as I already mentioned. So, like I said, we have the pipeline. Oh, look at the cool graphic on it. And so a lot of the systems that we do are in rural communities. There's a lot of space between houses. There's a lot of pipeline. This is the majority of our project. What this guy's doing right here is what takes the most time. That's why, sometimes it takes 2 years to get a lot of these projects done. We'll do questions at the end. And I know what you might be asking is, why don't we go in there with a backhoe and dig it? Often we do when we can, but oftentimes the roads are so bad we can't get machinery up to the sites. And oftentimes we can't afford to pay these people to come up and help do digging with a backhoe. So anyway, about one man can do enough trench for one pipe a day. It's about 20 foot of trench in a day. So you can imagine if we had 3 miles of pipeline that we need to dig, how long that might take. So continue on. We have some other pictures. You can go through these more quickly. Oh.
Resume side, so right now.
Resume that, yeah, correct. Here's some more examples of people digging pipelines. Keep going. But as you can tell, it's all people from the community that are doing all this work. I mean, a lot of this stuff, we try and teach brigade leaders, and they have a group of 5 to 10 people working under them, and so they're in charge of making sure all the work's done correctly, making sure all the pipes are glued together correctly. We put the power in the hands of people is what the purpose is. So, some more examples of people working hard. The next thing, so I think it's the next slide. And so you can tell there was an example of a back in the last picture. Engaged site, they were able to get one in. But now, the other part of our project, besides building trenches, is obviously we need some storage tanks for our water systems. And we've gone through a lot of different designs Peace Corps has over the years. I think the water program, Peace Corps-wide, has existed for 15 or 20 years. I think here in the country it's existed for 10 or 12 years, something like that.
No, more than that.
No, I think 25 years ago.
25 years ago?
4 years.
Maybe it was canceled for a while because I know it was brought back in about 10 or 12 years ago. So it was obviously around a long time
That's
ago.
my take.
And so what we're focusing on, the type of tanks we're focusing on now, the technology we're using is called ferrocement. Andrew's going to talk a little more about this later, so we'll just kind of move right into it. You shouldn't have to cook anything, Shell, for by itself. And so you can tell you clear area, you put down some rebar, you pour cement floor, and then you work on the walls using a very thin concrete walls in a mesh that the concrete will stick to. Using a mortar that will stick to the mesh. And a thing called electrosoval. And so you wrap a tarp around it and you'll slap the concrete on the middle, slap a couple layers on the outside, the inside, you make it waterproof. You throw on a roof and you're good to go. And
We used a little guy with one piece of board inside and you mortar and move it and mortar and move it. You didn't have plastic that was not environmentally sustainable. And it was expensive.
yes, so that's our process for tanks. You'll hear more about that from Andrea. But now I'm going to move on to not quite yet, but you can move to the next slide and get things ready for that. So this is what we would call a hydraulic ramp up. The Peace Corps, don't play quite yet.
Peace Corps, up until now, up until last year, has focused only on gravity-fed water systems. That means you find water up in the mountains, the water can flow downhill to all the houses. First it flows into the tank, and then from the tank it flows into the tubes to everyone's house. Unfortunately, not every community has a convenient source right above their village. So when I was placed in my site of Las Pateras, the water source for my community is unfortunately about 20 to 50 meters below all the homes. And so how do we get the water uphill? It doesn't naturally flow uphill, so we have to use some sort of pump. And so we looked at lots of different kinds of pumps that would be sustainable. Unfortunately, most of them use gasoline, electricity, or some sort of combustible something or other. We found a few different ideas, one of which was the ram pump, hydraulic ram pump. So over the last year, we've had a volunteer, Mark Armstrong, and several others working on this ram pump initiative, designing this, finding designs from a university in England, and we had this manufactured right here in Santo Domingo from a local guy, a local metal worker. It's very easy to build if you have all the basic tools that a metal worker would have. He built this in about the first time took a little while, but I think the second pump took about a week for him to build, and it's at a fairly low cost. I think it's like $700 to $800, and it can pump enough. This can pump enough water for about 40 homes. So with one of these pumps, we can. My community has 60 homes, so with two of these pumps, I can potentially feed all 60 homes. We just installed one of the pumps last week. So go back to the last slide, we can show the video. That right. So click on it. Anyway, we installed the pump last week. Just click on the middle of it.
Yeah. Cursor disappeared.
What?
Cursor disappears.
There it is.
So this is how the ram pump works. There's water that comes from a higher elevation, enters the pump with a certain head or power, pressure, rather. And this one has about 20 meters of head, which is about 115 psi that enters the pump, and then the pump can then pump about 10% of that water up to about 150 meters, maximum. We're trying to keep it down to about 100 to 110, but you can tell the amount of pressure that's coming out of the pump.
50 psi.
This is the outlet on the right-hand side, and the wastewater comes out of the impulse valve. You can come up if you're interested in this. You can come up and we can explain to you a little bit better after the presentation, because we have an example right here. So, but this is the air tank that gets compressed and creates the pressure, and that's the impulse valve. So, anyway, the other important aspect is local support, and what we're doing is getting local support from the community itself, with community leaders, forming a water committee. And in addition, we get local support from ayuntamientos, city governments, from federal government, from other NGOs. Just we're trying to work locally to make this as sustainable as possible. Obviously, it doesn't always work. We get money from the states as well. We've worked in the past with Rotary or with PCPP grants, if you guys remember those. So, go on. Keep going. And water committees are basically what makes us sustainable projects, because water committees are the people that really care about the project. They're the ones that are getting on their community members being like, hey, we need to pay our monthly quota. And the monthly quota goes toward maintenance. If every person pays $1 a month, that means 5 years down the road, when a couple tubes break, they can buy those tubes to have the money. Or when the pump breaks 5 years down the road, they can put $100 into fixing the pump. Because $1 a month with 60 different homes, that's a lot of money built over several years. So this also goes for paying technicians that will be trained to help maintain the system, maintain the pumps. There's going to be a rigorous course that we go through for the pump maintenance and running, because it's a bit technical, though it's fairly simple. It's about as simple of a pump as you can make, but still there's some technical aspects to it. So the water committee is really the foundation of that. And so a lot of our time, especially in the first year, is spent being with the water committee weekly, and we're helping them write statutes, helping them write their own rules for how they want this to be run. And then finally, just wanted to give a quick word on youth involvement. As AT sector, we're trying to get more into youth involvement, getting kids excited about science projects, getting kids excited about these different initiatives. The water system itself, I always am having kids come and check out the pump, help put in pipes and whatnot, because it's really just teaching them like technical things that they want to get in school. And the schools here are don't really do very well at teaching science, especially. So we're really trying to boost that initiative to do some hands-on science experience. So just a few more pictures, and then took the kids to a conference a couple weeks ago, and it was really fun. Kids don't often get out, and so that's about it. One more slide, and then we're done.
Community economic development volunteer, and I switched sectors to work with volunteers that are working on ecological bathroom projects, which I'm going to explain what those are. The ecological bathroom project is fairly new. As we started developing the project about 2.5 years ago now, and we started it at my first Peace Corps site out on the border in Davao. So the project has came a long way, and I got to see all the development of it and the changes that have been made to make the project cheaper and better and easier for the families to maintain and understand. So an eco-baño this is the basic one. Obviously the house goes on it after, I think house goes on it after it's built like that. And the eco-baño has two sides to it, and the family uses one side and they wait for it to fill. The urine is separated with a tube, so only the number 2 is going into the side. So after one side is filled, and all throughout using it, the family's dumping in ash, or they can use sawdust or whatever to help dry it, and the family's moving a rake so that it's decomposing at the same rate. So after they're done using one side, this is new, we have a swivel toilet seat, which I don't have any pictures of, unfortunately, but there's a toilet seat that swivels, so all the family has to do is move it when one side is full, and then they top off the other side, and they continue letting that decompose while they're using the other side, and then when the other side is full, then the material that is in the side that has been decomposing can be used on mango trees, algae trees, basically trees. You don't want to use it on any plants, just in case. And next, go back actually. Okay, so this picture is a success story. We did a training out in Santiago for 5 different volunteers and their masons, and it was a huge success. It was a 4-day training, and now like 3 of these volunteers are doing this project. 3 or 4. So, next picture. Okay. This is at Ari's site. This is Ari. And he is a follow-up volunteer at my site where in 2010, we did 52 ecological bathrooms out there. And it's in a community with a high water table, so they can't do pit latrines. And now Ari is doing a project with 200 eco-baños out there. So this is, I had the opportunity to go out and visit Ari, and he did a training with my 2 masons from my project and trained 8 more masons. So they're building 34 bathrooms a week. So it touched me so much to be out there and see that. So he has an amazing thing going on out there, and none of this would be working if it weren't for the educational part. Ari is continuing to train health promoters to be going and doing 9 family visits over the course of the first 1.5 to 2 years. And every promoter gets 5 houses, and they go and they give visits on sanitation, so just about washing their hands and how contamination happens. And then the second one is the second visit is about the different parts of the eco-baño and what an eco-baño is, how it works, and then we go into construction with families so that they're a little bit more aware of that. And then finally we do our build, and the following visits from the promoters are to explain how to maintain these, how to take care of them, and the goal is on the last visit is to take out the compost out of the one side. That has not happened yet. I really was hoping that I would see that, and I still hope that I do see it before I leave this country. We'll see, because these are lasting forever and aren't filling up very quickly. My original thing, because we got email and they're like, oh, bring something that you can see and touch. We want like visuals for you guys' presentations. Well, I have to bring a bag of compost and like trick you all and have you touch it. And then I'm gonna be like, yeah, guess what that was. Okay, so this is a little video that shows the construction, and also think of Josh's Ferris cement tanks, because this is the same way that they're built, basically.
Solid waste.
Yeah, yeah. So there's a hole for where the year goes, and it's measured to. to volunteer since it's a project that half the volunteers that are doing it at least are in a different sector. So that's where I come in, is to help get them ready and help them do their projects. Okay, so I wanted to give you guys some numbers. We've had 9 in the last 2 years since I started the project until today. We built like 94 eco-barrios in total. And in the next 6 months, volunteers are going to be building over 260 latrines, or eco-barrios. So the project is a growing project, and it's probably going to continue that way because there's so many communities with a high water table. So volunteers are opting not to use that latrines because they don't last very long when the water is rising. All right, next picture. Okay. So moving on to Eco Baños, another project that, this is Jen Bailey's old site, and after living in Dajabon, I switched to Samaná and worked with a women's group and completed some of my CED initiatives, but I also did an AT project because apparently I was meant to be an AT volunteer from the get-go. And we did a clay oven. And this women's group bakes bread every Monday, and they sell it within the community. Delicious homemade bread. I ate it every day for like 9 months, as I'm sure that she did. And they are now baking. I went out there and they're baking a couple times a week and selling more. I don't know how much more because I left before I really got a chance to find out, but the women are super self-motivated and do an awesome job of what they do. So not only have volunteers, this is the only one that has been done for a small business, but some other volunteers, handful volunteers, have done a couple for individual use, and those are smaller. This is 2 meters by 2 meters. So it's a very large oven. And next picture. And that's a completed oven. And we put seashells. Well, I put seashells. They're kind of burned now. And that's it on Eco Baños and Bread.
At the end.
Yeah.
Hi everyone, my name is Jeremy. We are running short on time, so I'm going to squeeze 10 minutes of information into about 3 minutes. So try to keep up. There's a part of AT that works with groups of people, whether it be small farmers or micro businesses. They're involved in some type of process. We all happen to work with food. So as an example, we have a coffee bean on the left and a cup of coffee on the right. So we look at the process of how do we go from a coffee bean to a coffee cup. Well, first you have to pick it. Then you have to depulp the coffee, which is take the red part off. Then it's drying, deshelling it, toasting, grinding, and finally putting it in the coffee maker. So once we know that process, we can look at ways of improving it or changing it. Well, maybe we can't develop a better way to pick the coffee bean, and the people we're working with don't really care if we can build a coffee pot that makes the coffee 2 minutes faster. But maybe we can look at things such as how the people dry the coffee beans. Instead of laying it out on a tarp where the women or where children and animals and the weather can affect it, maybe we can use something that looks like something on the next slide, which is a solar tunnel dryer. This is a prototype dryer that Logan's working on. He's actually working with cacao. I've got you in the coffee analogy, we'll switch gears. As you can see, it's covered, it's protected from the rain. The coffee is on an elevated surface, so it gets drying from the top and the bottom. And there's a metal plate down below where the camera is, so that it heats up the air as it goes through the dryer. And it's also modular, so farmers can buy like 6 or 7 to dry all their coffee at once. Next slide. This right here is wastewater, so maybe in the coffee analogy, once the coffee is deshelled, what do you do with the shells? Well, this right here is wastewater from yucca. It's highly toxic, and right now it's just used as runoff. Contaminates the environment, the air. So what happens if you put it in essentially a black trash bag and let a biological process happen? You get the next slide, which is the biodigester. This reduces methane, which can be used for cooking, and also produces fertilizer, which can be used as fertilizer. Next step, before I fall off stage. So I work with a women's group that makes peanut butter. Very excellent peanut butter, I'll add. The first step is getting peanuts. The problem right now, we don't have peanuts grown in our area. So I built a shelter, and we're going to do a rotating loan fund with local farmers to grow peanuts. That way the women don't have to go to the capital, 5 hours away, buy the peanuts, take it back, take it, brought it back. Eliminate some costs that way. Next slide. Second part, when I got there, the grinder was hand cranked. Only the muchachas and I could do it. So I walked around. I couldn't straighten my arms after I did it. So with this bike pedal attachment, the donors not only can do it, but we passed the peanuts through 2 times, and we've improved the product to the point where we don't have to add more oil. Ask any of the volunteers; they'll tell you it's better right now from what it used to be. And this is the final goal. We're going to do an activity on which is more appropriate. I'll tell you the answer is on the left. On the right is what we currently have. If anyone would like to buy it, come talk to me. It's about 100,000 pesos. We're in the market. So that is what we do in ET. Any questions? There is samples of the peanut butter, which Matt, did you guys